A Category 3 hurricane in New Jersey. It's not impossible. Emergency management officials and meteorologists both believe that this is a reasonable worst case scenario for the state of New Jersey. So let's take a look at what this means in terms of the storm surge for the Jersey Shore. It's meteorologist Joe Martucci here. Good to be with you. Hopefully, we never have to deal with this. However, let's take a look at what a Category 3 hurricane would mean for our storm surge or water above normally dry land at the coast. We look at the Saffir-Simpson scale to start. This is how we categorize hurricanes by the maximum sustained winds. A Category 3 hurricane, that's devastating, with maximum sustained winds of 111 to 129 miles an hour. And with that counterclockwise spinning motion, that is a very large amount of water being pushed into the bays and then being spilled over onto normally dry land. Here's a look at our return interval for how often a major hurricane would hit a region here. We look at South Florida and in the Carolinas, and that's about once every generation or so. In New Jersey, the interval return period is 1 in 68 year storm up to a 1 in 76 year storm. However, if we break this down by the percentages, this helps to explain the story a little bit better. We're anywhere from a 1.3% chance in Ocean County up to a 1.5% chance in Cape May County on any given year. So it's a small threat, and we have not seen a major hurricane hit New Jersey in the past 76 years. In fact, since the satellite era, we've never seen anything above a Category 1 hurricane hit New Jersey, and even that was Superstorm Sandy, which technically was a post-tropical cyclone at landfall, but still had Category 1 impacts. Now, let's take somewhere like Seabright. We'll start at the northern part of the shore and we'll work our way down. Anywhere that you see red is water that would be 9 feet or above normally high ground. And that means pretty much all of Seabright, at least the residential area of Seabright, and even getting into parts of Rumson, as well as Fairhaven as well, and anywhere floods from the Rumson Road on south. Now, let's compare that to Superstorm Sandy that we had in 2012. Yes, there was flooding in much of Seabright. We know that. But notice around the Rumson Road area, there was no water there. In a Category 3 scenario, we would see water in that spot. Let's go a little further to the south here. We'll take you into the southern part of Monmouth County here. We'll take you right to around Asbury Park or so. This is what this looks like during a Category 3 hurricane. Anywhere with those yellows or oranges is water that's up to 6 feet above ground level here. And that's most of Asbury Park on Cookman Avenue or Kingsley Street, where we have a number of restaurants and bars and entertainment venues, and even much of Ocean Grove also seeing water above normally dry land. Now, if we go to Asbury Park on this Sandy map, just to compare, this is what Sandy looked like in Asbury Park. I'll zoom out for a little bit for you here. Yes, there was flooding, but not as widespread as what we would see during a Category 3 scenario. Now we'll take you down to Long Beach Island. We'll take you down to Surf City in Long Beach Island here, and we'll show you what that looks like here. So we go to Surf City in New Jersey, and you're going to see this during a Category 3 storm. This is coming right off the Route 72 bridge here. Anywhere west of Long Beach Boulevard is under 9 feet of water. The only place that isn't underwater is the top of the sand dune. So tremendous devastation during a Category 3 hurricane. And let's just go over to Manahawkin here in Mud City. Lots of us have homes here in this area. Also, at least 6 feet of water in this scenario. We go to Sandy just to show you what this looked like. And this isn't exact, but this is giving us a good idea of what happened here. We also saw a lot of flooding in those same areas. So to be honest with you, not much of a difference in the flooding situation between a Category 3 hurricane in Sandy in this central part of Long Beach Island and going into Manahawkin. Water is probably a little higher, but it is getting into those areas here. We'll take you further to the south into Atlantic City, a hot spot for coastal flooding and sea level rise. This is Category 3, and you see pretty much not only all of Atlantic City, but almost all of Absecon Island here. That's over 9 feet of storm surge. And even in Ventnor City, some of the higher parts here along Atlantic Avenue, at least 6 feet of storm surge. In fact, I did this research before doing this video. The only place in Atlantic City that wouldn't have water is right around the Borgata area in Atlantic City. Everywhere else, feet of water in a Category 3 scenario. Now we go to Sandy here. We actually have to lower this just a bit, this footage here, because we didn't have as much coastal flooding in Atlantic City as we did further north. Still tremendous, of course, but just not as much. So let's show you what we see in Atlantic City during this. We saw some of the higher elevated areas along Atlantic Avenue, wound up with just a little bit of water on the road or completely dry. Of course, once you got into back Maryland and Garner's Basin, there was plenty of water. Same thing for Chelsea Heights and most of Ventnor north and west of Ventnor Avenue, but not as extreme as what we would have in a Category 3 type scenario. In fact, anywhere east of Shore Road would be pretty much over 9 feet of storm surge. I'll take you down to Cape May and we'll wrap it up here. And I'll put the link to this in the video as well. Look at lower Cape May. This is everything south of the canal. You'd be hard-pressed to find a house that isn't going to have at least 3 feet of storm surge here. It's just some areas just west of Seashore Road that see less than 3 feet, but this would be tremendous for Cape May as well. And Cape May is usually pretty resistant to coastal flooding here. Now, let me show you what this looked like during Sandy. We're going to bump this down just a little bit again because the storm surge peaked at about 5 feet above mean higher high water. That's the height of the average high tide. Yes, there was flooding in Cape May. We know that along Madison Avenue, parts of Beach Avenue, but especially look at that Seashore Road corridor. Not that much there, thankfully, during Sandy. Different story, though, in a Category 3 hurricane. This is why we get worried about this scenario, because places that have never really flooded in our recollection, even in written history, in terms of there being population at the shore, have seen something like this. Most of Cape May Point is seeing over 6 feet of storm surge. You go over to the U.S. Coast Guard Training Center, over 3 feet of storm surge. During Sandy, it was pretty much dry here. So, Category 3 hurricane is when we're considering as far as a reasonable worst case scenario. Again, it's a small chance, 1.5 to 1.7% chance on an annual basis, but something that our emergency managers pay attention to, and something where charts like this can give you an idea about what the coastal flooding and the storm surge would be like during this type of storm.